Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the second installment of our new series, KVARTIRNIK at NYU. My name is Mike Danilin. I will be your host for the evening. And it is my great pleasure to introduce Mikhail BORZIKIN. I'm not too fond of big words, but some degree of pathos is merely inescapable here. Because not only Mikhail belongs to the generation, the golden generation of the 1980s, the golden age of Russian rock, as they say it. He's also the pioneer of electronic new wave, dating all the way back to 1984. I just want to say a couple of words about the 80s and my own impression of them in the beginning. 1980s, what a beautiful, what a wonderful time. The time of changes, the time of first glimpses of freedom, the time of unity, and the time of openness, as in being open to the world, the way it was happening at the second half of the 80s and the way it progressed towards the 90s later on. And no one in the right mind would imagine back then that things would revert to the same old familiar ways of isolationism and totalitarian mentality and the empire state of mind as we are witnessing it nowadays. And it is especially interesting to see how people changed within this last 30 years, especially when these people are the heroes of your youth. But here is the person who has not changed a bit, who has always been, in my personal opinion, the living personification of staying true to oneself. So please welcome Mikhail BORZIKIN, Televizor.
Thank you. Thank you. So, for the start, it's the song called Your TV set is talking to you. С вами говорит телевизор. It's one of the first songs.
Стоять на тонких ногах, загнанный в угол. Четвероногий испуганно ждет щелчка в уютной чужой берлоге. Эй, там на кухне закройте дверь, пахнет паленым, хочется ветра, полированный стонет зверь в чьих-то квадратных метрах. Оставьте меня, я живой, с вами говорит телевизор. Я буду думать своей головой, с вами говорит телевизор. Я не хочу называть героев, с вами говорит телевизор. Я не хочу говорить о крови. 220 холодных вольт, система надежна. Она не откажет, и вечер не даст ничего. Программа все та же, а люди едят им хорошо. Это век электрических наслаждений, и мне предлагают электрошок. Но я предчувствую пробуждение. Оставьте меня, я живой, с вами говорит телевизор. Я буду думать своей головой, с вами говорит телевизор. Я не хочу называть героев, с вами говорит телевизор. Я не хочу говорить о крови.
Thank you.
Okay, let me quickly remind you of the format of such event as Kvartirnik. This will be a talk, well, you can call it a conversation or a talk show with the elements of music performance. I will be asking Mikhail questions that interest me, that been interesting me for a long time, about Russian rock, about related issues. Mikhail will be answering these questions, and you guys will have the opportunity to ask him a question or two too. There are two ways you can do that. Either wait till I am done with my questions, and then it will be your turn. Or if you feel uncomfortable asking a question in person, you can jot it down on a piece of paper, pass it down, and I will read your question to Mikhail. Okay? So here comes my first question. Misha, they call you a legend of Russian rock, and rightly so. But I was wondering, what does a Russian rock mean to you? How would you interpret the very term? For instance, is this rock music with the Russian lyrics? Or is it some kind of unique style, very different from the rest of the rock music made in the world? Or is it rock music coming from Russia or post-Soviet territories? How was this term used back in the 1980s? How did people interpret it back then? And how did the meaning of the term change, if it changed, today?
Well, it's quite a long story of an old term losing its original meaning. So I'd better start from the 80s. Then in the Soviet times, we had a real confrontation between official bands called VIA, vocal instrumental band, it was ensemble. So they performed songs written by professional songwriters and officially adopted. So it was kind of we felt like enemies with them, and the other so-called Russian rock community, they played their own songs and they didn't belong to any official organization. So we had much more freedom. We were amateur. We were gathered in so-called rock clubs under the control of local houses of amateur performance. It was called in Russia, or in the Soviet Union. So in the early 80s, we were called by some independent journalists the Russian rock bands. So to form the opposition to the official ones.
To VIAs.
What?
Opposition to VIAs.
To VIAs, yeah. So I myself personally never considered, I never considered myself a Russian rock musician. I was just playing rock music with Russian lyrics. But then after the Soviet Union crashed, this term has started to have another meaning. It became a mainstream standard rock songs in Russian, and it lost its protest context. And what's funny, in the 90s, this term got a new synonym, shit rock, for many of us. So it's the third meaning. So a lot of independent musicians nowadays consider Russian rock as a shit rock music with kind of banal structure and pathos lyrics. Although the official press in Russia is still calling it the Russian rock, it looks like a complete genre to them. So it's a funny story anyway, but now it's really became disaster for many of musicians who are not involved in so-called official Russian rock, who are not using the same patterns in their music, in their lyrics. So it's much harder for them to get through to the publicity. Okay, probably that's all I can remember.
All right, thank you. So time for the next song.
Oh, yeah. Next song is called The City. So it's about St. Petersburg. It was also written in the early 80s.
Я вдыхаю запах улиц, я вдыхаю шум колес. Мой причал. Я дышу свинцовым небом в ожидании чистых звезд по ночам. Средь причудливых сплетений наших судеб мой родник. Все в тебе. Слышу я, как дышат стены, я прошу слова у них, чтобы петь. Я брожу по серым нитям, лунный шепот мой слуга. Ночь светла. Я заглядываю в лица человечьи, наугад зеркала. За тревогой поколений вижу новый город-сон. Все в одном. Я играю в этом ритме, я настроен в унисон с этим сном.
The next song I would like to perform is called Supa Gorila. It means I'm fed up. It's one of the first experiments in rap we did in 85 or something, in Russian rap music. So it's about being exhausted of the food that is coming, of the informational food that was coming from the Soviet authorities and all these lies and propaganda. So it's fed up.
Доброе утро! Я снова здесь, мне ничего не надо, у меня все есть. Я гуляю по кухне с гордым видом и имею основание считать себя сытым, да, сытый. Это снова модно, чем лучше человек, тем толще морда. Не думай ни о чем, кроме колбасы, если хочешь быть одним из тех, кто сыт. Сыт по горло, лай-лай-лай-лай, сыт по горло, ла-ла-ла-ла-ла-ла. ниже. Ты мой брокер, я твоя биржа. Лизинг, факторинг, маркетинг, плейбой, не выключай телевизор. Я с тобой глотай слюну свободы, мечтай о стране святых бутербродов, о новом шампуне для старых мозгов. Все очень просто, wash and go. Ты сыт по горло, сыт по горло. Смотри под ноги, вот наука, работай головой ради желудка. Берешь любую тему, производишь глоток и превращаешь информацию в желудочный сок. Я уничтожу столько добра, мой друг. Холодильник не даст собрать, но иногда бывает плохо. Меня тошнит, но это от того, что я слишком сыт. Я сыт по горло, сыт по горло. Никаких претензий и никаких обид, и никаких сомнений. Да, я сыт, и никаких претензий, и никаких обид, и никаких сомнений. Да, я сыт, сыт по горло, лай-лай-лай-лай. Сыт по горло, лай-лай-лай-лай. Сыт по горло, лай-лай-лай-лай. Сыт по горло.
Thank you.
Save it for later, okay? Because I want to ask. Okay, all right.
Thank you. So, in the song, I heard you use the word banderlogi. And I don't know what it meant in 1985, and what does it mean now? Has its meaning changed since all these years? Because, well, I wasn't in the Soviet Union in 1985. I don't know. I've never heard this word up until recently. And so I'm just asking, was there a different meaning back then?
They returned to their previous state of mind, so they still exist. I mean, those banderlogia. It's from Mowgli. I don't know how it's in English. Ah, yeah. So these monkeys, monkeys were called banderlogi.
David has probably been referring to the recent Ukrainian events and the way they started using this word banderlogi in slightly different context.
Oh,
but
probably, I'm not very well informed that it's used nowadays.
Bandera, banderlogi, see the analogy? Bandera, banderlogi.
Yeah. I never heard. Okay, that's new information for me. Yeah, well, of course, we are kind of going backwards to the 70s of the Soviet Union, and people getting more and more weak to fight against propaganda. So the brains are returning into the Soviet state. It was a very surprising and disappointing fact for me that it's possible, but now I can be sure that it is. So they really don't want to think. That's a real problem. A lot of, the majority, I would say. So propaganda is working. It works.
Okay, let me revisit the 80s. And here's the question I have. I know some people have been comparing you to Trent Reznor and Televizor to Nine Inch Nails. Quite a few people. And for instance, our mutual friend, Andrei Shevchenko, DJ Android. But the interesting point is that the debut album by Nine Inch Nails with the fairly with a high degree of social awareness, with this darker age electronic new wave that was kind of revolutionary at the point. It came out in 1989, whereas your first album came out in 1984. So here comes my question. How did the young Soviet musicians, underground Soviet musicians, having no money, managed to step so much ahead, so far ahead of their time, in the early 80s, when obtaining a decent quality guitar was a challenge, not to mention a synthesizer. So can you unveil this mystery for us?
You know, I like the Trent Reznor and what, but it's a funny comparison, by the way.
You think?
Yeah. Well, you were talking about self-reflecting lyrics. That's what so, I mean, probably it's a kind of strange mixture of Russian poetry, which I was fond of. I was always fond of, and it contains self-reflections a lot, from Lermontov to Bloch, Mayakovsky, Mandelstam, Brodsky, and a lot of them. So, and the social depression of the early 80s in the Soviet Union was a probably perfect background for the dark lyrics. And if you're talking about the music,
yeah, especially the electronic component of this music.
We were really new wave fans at this time, because we got through all this mainstream rock and roll before, and we were really enthusiastic about new wave music when it appeared in the late 70s. And of course we were trying to use some electronics. It was completely different to comparing to the blues and to the hard rock or to art rock. It was yeah. So we were real Western music hunters at that time. We put a lot of energy to get new informations, new records from behind the Iron Curtain. So with the help of the friends, with the black market, sometimes it was dangerous, it was also very expensive. So me, myself, I just had a friend who was selling these records for one month's salary for one record. He was selling, and before he was going to sell, he gave it to me, and I recorded on a tape recorder. Mm-hmm. So I shouldn't pay. That was the main idea. And of course, that's how I discovered The Cure, Depeche Mode, David Bowie, Japan, and a lot more bands. And of course, there was a big problem to find any synthesizers and electronic drums, for example. And we were experimenting with a lot of handmade electronic devices made by our Russian engineers. They were not musicians, but they were trying to invent something, and so it was like one box with big knob. When you push it, it makes like poo. You can make it poo, and you can make it poo. So we were very enthusiastic about that, and then we, for example, we stole mix from
microphones.
Microphones, yeah, small microphones, round microphones from the handsets of the street telephone booths to make electronic drums, because you have to have mic under the electronic in the electronic drums to catch the signal. So that was very, very funny, and sometimes even dangerous, because police didn't like it, of course. And the first Soviet synthesizer we got, it was Estradin, and it was made on some military factory in the Urals, some 3,000 miles away, they were making tanks before. And so they decided to make this 35 kilos, you can play only with one finger. but it was, anyway, we did a lot to get it. It was not easy. And of course, it was very unstable. And when we were recording our first album, we were sharing one synthesizer. It was like Korg Poly 800.
That legendary Korg Poly 800.
For
I heard about it.
5, 6 groups, for 6 bands. And we borrowed it from a friend who worked in the restaurant. So they were really rich musicians. They were performing in the restaurants some Soviet songs, and there were 2 synthesizers like that in St. Petersburg in the early 80s. So we got one, and we were in a hurry to record everything we wanted. And of course, that's the way it started, and it was just young energy and some blind attempts to create something unique. That's how I see it.
All right, great. Time for some music.
Yeah. Next song is called "The Fish Starts Rotting from the Head." Рыба гниет с головы. So we were reflecting social, political situation at that time. Okay, I'll try to perform. Кто вам поверит теперь? Ведь вы молчали, столько лет не просто молчали, душили тех, кто не спал. Ваши лозунги там, 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 на страницах вчерашних газет, но сегодня ваши герои на прежних местах. Они все врут, рыба гниет с головы. Они все врут, рыба гниет с головы. Сегодня вас не поймать. Вы все голосуете за, и толпы сомнений бродят в моей голове. Но когда кабинетный раб говорит мне слово «нельзя», я понимаю, что ниточка снова ведет наверх, на самый верх. Они все врут, рыба гниет с головы. Они все врут, рыба гниет с головы. Они все врут, рыба гниет с головы. Они все врут, рыба гниет, 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 гниет. Рыба гниет, 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 гниет. Рыба гниет, 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 гниет. Они все врут, рыба гниет с головы. Они все врут, рыба гниет с головы. Они все врут, рыба гниет с головы. Напрасный труд. Рыба гниет, 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 гниет. Thank you.
Yeah, I changed the location.
It's
Mish,
good.
since your band Televizor was a member of Russian Leningrad Rock Club, I know there was a rule here, the system that the songs, in order to be performed the official rock club events, they needed to be first approved, or actually not the songs themselves, but their lyrics needed to be approved by the club committee, and you were only able to perform approved songs.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure everybody who is interested in Leningrad Rock Club and Russian rock of the 1980s knows the story how some of your songs were censored out, but you performed them nevertheless, resulting in your band being banned from the official rock
For a
club
year.
events.
Yeah.
There is another interesting story, legendary story, how you led the 1,000-strong march to Smolny, to St. Petersburg City Hall, if you will, to oppose them canceling the rock festival. And you guys actually won. They didn't cancel that festival.
Yeah.
So can you please expand on those stories a little bit? And in relation to that, what role did Russian rock music, not just Russian, what role did rock music play in the protest movement back in the 80s, and how did this role change over time?
Okay, it's very complicated. But I'll try. We were, it was in '86 when we were banned from performing throughout the USSR for singing 2 uncensored songs. We were asked not to sing them before the concert, before the festival, but we decided that it's stupid. There was nothing really, as we thought, dangerous in the lyrics. And so we did it, and after that they decided to prohibit the performances for a year. But we found some ways to make it unofficially. So it was underground. There were some underground performances, of course. But in a year, the situation had changed, and it was '87 when a lot of other bands started to break the rules, and there was not enough power. They got not enough power to prohibit everybody. Mm-hmm. And the situation in Russia changed a lot at those times. So everybody in the Soviet Union, everybody was feeling this air of freedom and wind of change, and everybody was trying to make it faster, to come to it faster. And you were talking about this march of dissenters.
The march of dissenters, if you can call it. Yeah.
There was no dissenters. It was not called like this at this time. It's the late term, but it was a simple situation. We had to play on the first day of the festival, and I came the day before the festival. We were discussing how to organize it with the Soviet of Rock Club. I was told that there will be no festival and nothing can be done because the fireman said that it's very dangerous to perform in a big concert hall. It was, of course, a false reason. Yeah. And there was nothing to do. It was somebody said a joke. You can go into the street and try to collect together some people and organize some revolution. So that's what I did. There was no way out. So I just started to appeal to people who came to buy tickets for the festival. So I started to explain that there will be no festival at all if we are not going to do something about it. So in the end, we just like 200 people gathered around me, and we started moving to the city hall. And what's very interesting, just in 1 hour while we were moving, shouting, freedom to rock festival. And a lot of people heard it from their windows, so they're coming down, they gathered together. In the end, we were like 3,000 or 4,000. That was the atmosphere. It's completely different. So we were stopped by the police, but they asked us to wait a little. Then there were negotiations with the officials, city bureaucrats. So in the end, it took 20 minutes. They decided that it's possible to organize festivals, so it took place, and it was also a breakthrough, because after that it took place every year. So what was there was something else I should have.
And I was wondering, in relation to these two stories, how did the role of what was the role of rock music in the protest in general in the 80s, and how did this role change later on, especially today?
Well, of course, we at first we thought that we ruined the system, and a lot of journalists helped us to think like that, because we were just touring, we were gathering big stadiums, and people felt the resonance, and so it was just the wind of change. So it's not we who made the perestroika, of course. But anyway, we were in this movement, and for a lot of people it was very important. And then there were several stages of degradation and escaping the social protests in the lyrics, and now it's not anymore so important for the people. I think it's international
Trend,
yeah. But anyway, it was nice 5 years from 85 till 90. That seemed to me quite unique. It's like the times of the revolution. So it's the small time of freedom when people were together, and everything disappeared after that. No, so it's gradually. It was not at once, but in the end, this energy. We lost this energy of freedom. That's a pity. Of course, it's
a pity indeed. Okay, time for the next song.
Okay, I'll sing a song which was prohibited many times. It was very funny. So before the concert, some of the local bureaucrat boss usually comes and just whispering, "Please don't sing this song." It's called "Your Daddy is a Fascist." Твой папа фашист. I don't know why, but they were probably they don't like the title, maybe.
Не говори мне о том, что он добр, не говори мне о том, что он любит свободу. Я видел его глаза, их трудно любить. А твоя любовь — это страх. Ты боишься попасть в число неугодных. Ты знаешь, он может прогнать, он может убить. Твой папа фашист. Не смотри на меня так, я знаю точно, просто фашист. Не смотри на меня так. Быть может, он просто жесток, Быть может, ему не знаком Шопенгауэр, но воля и власть — это все, что в нем есть. И я не пойду за ним, я вижу плоды могучих иллюзий. Мне нужен свой свет, мне нужен свой крест. Твой папа фашист. Не смотри на меня так, я знаю точно, просто фашист. Не смотри на меня так. И дело совсем не в цвете знамен. Он может себя называть кем угодно, но слово умрет, если руки в крови. И я сам не люблю ярлыков, но симптомы болезни слишком известны. Пока он там наверху, он будет давить. Твой папа фашист. Не смотри на меня так, я знаю точно, просто фашист. Есть идеи, покрытые пылью, есть одетые в сталь, что в них не так уж важно, гораздо важнее, кто за ними встал. Не говори мне о том, что он добр, не говори мне о том, что он любит свободу. Я вижу его детей, их трудно любить. А твоя любовь — это страх. Ты боишься попасть в число неугодных. Ты знаешь, завтра уволят и могут убить. Твой папа фашист. Не смотри на меня так, я знаю точно, просто фашист. Не смотри на меня так. Мой папа фашист. Мой папа фашист. Ваш папа фашист. Не смотри на меня так.
Thank you. One more? Отечество, нет?
Сейчас.
Не, ну хорошо, давай. Не, был запланирован сейчас. Ну ладно. Давай поговорим дальше.
Okay. All right. It already came up in our discussion that there is a popular idea that the Soviet underground rock music was instrumental in bringing down the Iron Curtain. And of course, your band Televizor, as we just discussed, was one of the most notable and the earliest anti-Soviet bands. So when the revolution has won in 1991 and the USSR stopped its existence, what happened next? When did you start realizing that this train might have been moving in the wrong direction, not quite the one that you imagined?
Well, we were relaxed like for 10 years since 90s till 2000. We thought everything is done. We are on the right path. We are going to the bright futures. But there were a lot of things happening during these 10 years, and of course a lot of people were irritated by this new economical situation. So it was hard for Soviet people to get used to this new style of economy and relationship also. So, and in the end, a lot of them were demanding for a strong hand. Mm-hmm. So they started to dream of the Soviet leader who will show his power, and that's how Putin appeared. So he was kind of answer on those.
He was the answer to popular demand in that sense.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And of course he kind of finished Second Chechen War. It was just this military phase of this war was finished, and then for 10 years, of course, there was shooting, but just big war finished. So people liked that, and they voted for him. And after 2004, I think, it was clear. After he destroyed several television companies in 2001, 2002, 2003, and then there was this Khodorkovsky case. He was arrested and put to jail. And a lot of other journalists were killed. So that's when I understood that we are going backwards, and started to take part in the opposition movement in the streets. So we did it like for 12 years, since 2005. And there were successes and failures, but in the end, we'll see. We'll see what. But it was not so easy as I thought in the early 2000s.
Okay, and I think now it's a good time for Отечество иллюзий, Fatherland of Illusions.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah. This song called Motherland of Illusion. It's German's Vaterland, yeah.
Usually in English they translate
yeah?
Отечество
Really?
as Fatherland.
You also, yeah.
Yeah.
You like Germans, yeah, I know. Now I know. Yeah, we have this mother, but it looks like father anyway. Okay. It's the place where illusions are born. It's not about the country, it's about the head mostly, but of course the country is also there.
Софизмы, афоризмы, маразмы, так заразно я стал уставать от жизни. Спасибо тебе, мой разум, с этими ты или с теми, гласный или согласный, куда ни плюнь системы. И ты уже как-то назван, моя голова как выстрел, бродят по коридору свои и чужие мысли и спорят, спорят, спорят из запада, из востока, отовсюду текут рекою, но моя голова не помойка. Оставьте меня в покое, отечество иллюзий. Что внутри, что снаружи, чем дальше, тем хуже отечество иллюзий. А только все говорят о разном. Нацисты и пацифисты, черный ты или красный, попробуй остаться чистым. Бейся в водопады, ройся в чужих отходах. Ты давно уже найден, ты давно уже продан отечеству иллюзий. Что внутри, что снаружи, чем дальше, тем хуже отечество иллюзий.
Thank you. Дело в том, что мы подготовили определенный материал. Я боюсь, что средний период — это что-то такое... Ну, то есть он должен как-то отражать ответы на вопросы. Поэтому я боюсь, что это не совсем квартирник в том понимании традиционном, к которому привык.
Okay, Misha.
Sorry, I started speaking in Russian because somebody probably don't understand. Okay, let's... next song. Yeah, so next song. Yeah. It's called Nail Down the Cellar. It's about those Orthodox KGBists, as I can translate it. Neo-Christocekisty. I invented this term, and it was written when Putin was in power. So it's
When the Putin came to power, right?
Yeah.
When he came
to power. Yeah. Okay. I'll check.
Средневековье, властелин колец отдыхает, реальность данная нам буе рулит, зажигает, променяли серпы на кресты, были никири чистые, покупали, продавали, соблюдали посты, православные чекисты. Ой, мама, матрица, ты будешь молчать, жрать и верить в золотого тельца святого отца великой империи. Заколотите подвал, воняет, крысы в мавзолее, все наглее и злее власть гуляет, на свежих могилах растут куршевели, смерти кремлевская тварь. Заколотите подвал, заколотите подвал, заколотите подвал. Культура, ура, 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 новые услуги, порно-рынка, корпорация добра продолжает свою вечеринку. Какой-то зомби-помог, рокеры, святоши, журналисты, артисты лижут хозяйское дерьмо так искренне, неистово, образа и образы врага ежедневно, внутривенно, священным союзом царя и совка бредит Кремлять. Заколотите подвал, воняет, крысы в мавзолее, все наглее и злее власть гуляет, на свежих могилах растут куршевели, смерти кремлевская тварь. Заколотите подвал. Какая вера, очнись ты, это неохристо-чекисты родина, протри зрачки-то, это неохристо-чекисты вера, очнись ты, это неохристо-чекисты родина, протри зрачки-то, это неохристо-чекисты. Разуй глаза, разуй глаза, разуй глаза, разуй глаза, разуй глаза. Не хочу назад, не хочу назад, не хочу назад, не хочу назад. Чемодан, вокзал, салон, 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 чемодан, вокзал, салон.
Next song is called Deja Vu. So it's about that's what we felt when we in 2004-5. So it's like it was like we are dead and they came back, and we are already dead, so we cannot fight. That was a very sad feeling. So it's about. And some of us even joined Putin's party. That was the most disappointing thing. Well, I mean, rock musicians I knew for years, but a lot of them were supporting this guy. So, Deja Vu.
дежавю. Они вернулись, а нас простыл и след. Голос юный питерских улиц, а московские охрипы ослеп. Вспоминай, ее звали Свобода, за нее мы могли умереть, старина. Недавно видел ее тут в рекламе пудры для упырей. И как приговор во мне глухая тоска. Мы по разные стороны баррикад. Я хотел бы быть добрым, я хотел бы солгать, но мы по разные стороны баррикад. А тот мелкий бес, как его звали, прокуратор комитета добра, он теперь спонсор того фестиваля, на котором тебе завтра играть. И ты будешь играть. Ах да, за спиной долги и заботы о семье, о доме, о кошельке, путь домой. Когда-то его ты собирался пройти налегке. No, 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 no. И как приговор во мне глухая тоска. Мы по разные стороны баррикад. Я хотел бы быть добрым, я хотел бы солгать, но мы по разные стороны баррикад. Thank you.
Mish, you're well known for your anti-clerical views, being in stark opposition with some of your fellow Russian rockers who openly demonstrate their religious faith today. Some even go as far as labeling you anti-religious. I will use the Russian term «богоборец». But however, judging by your lyrics, I would not exactly call you an atheist. So what is faith and what is a religion to you? How do the terms differ? What can you say in relation to that? And especially, what I'm especially interested in, what do you think about this воцерковленность? Again, I'm using this popular Russian term, воцерковленность, the churching of many of your fellow Russian rockers. That is becoming so trendy today?
Easy question. Thank you. About faith. So, for me, faith is just a kind of energy one can use to achieve his personal goals, and it works sometimes, and it's an instrument. Religion. It's kind of view on the reality, which is dogmatic, which to my mind, which lacks life. in it. So it was made once and for the eternity, and that's why I'm not in it. Talking about a lot of rock musicians who were churching.
The churching, воцерковленность.
Yeah, it's really, it became a disaster nowadays, because you know, I always thought that rock and roll is kind of search for different. It's comparing different opinions. It's getting more and more knowledge. It's just the open system. Rock and roll you should have doubt in the beginning.
Doubt,
you should have questions. And some of my religious friends don't have any questions anymore, and that's a real problem. So they don't have any doubts, and that's why they, it seems to me that they just they are frozen. So that's why I'm not. We are not friends anymore. And what's more, they support Putin because he's like a new Tsar for them. So he's always uses this Orthodox propaganda too, and that's why. So they're becoming really dangerous and aggressive. Remember Pussy Riot case? So it was made by Orthodox fanatics, how to say, and every day they are closing rock concerts, they are closing exhibitions, film showing. Yeah. So nowadays I'm like there was a song in I'm afraid of Americans. I'm afraid of an Orthodox, so I'm really afraid of them right now. They're really the most conservative and aggressive part of the society in Russia right now.
But do you think this belief, this religious, this churching, this воцерковленность, this religiousness that they demonstrate, the rockers, I mean, the ones that you were friends with only yesterday, so it seems, is it real? Is it genuine? This fate, or they're just doing it because it's such a trend nowadays? What do you think?
Some of them. Some, especially the rock musicians of my age, they started earlier than Putin, but they got they got this new energy from for their belief. I think, but although it's a kind of replacing the drugs with the religion for a lot of them.
Too, yeah.
There were big problems with a lot of them, and they probably that's why they consider. So they use this religion like a drug. So that's why it's so scaring. It looks so scaring. So as I talked to one of them, he said, "I'm just a soldier. I don't want to. If you have doubts, just ask my senior, I don't know how priest. Superior. I said, how about dinosaurs? No, I don't want to talk about that. Talk to that. I am just a soldier, and I like everything which is what's going on in Russia because it's going in the Orthodox direction. He was always waiting for that, and now it's a lucky time."
Misha, on a more personal note, and yet you do have a few songs that have to do with God searching, богоискательство of sorts. Songs like «Кто ты», or «Who are you», «Уходи один», «Leave alone». What part does your inspiration draw from the divine, if you will, from God? Does God play a role in your creativity? By the way, one of my favorite songs of yours is "Уходи один." This is why I'm very curious about it.
Well, I can consider myself rather an agnostic. Agnostic, not gnostic. So I'm not sure. I can't take it for granted that the God exists, or I didn't see didn't see him personally. So anyway, but I'm not denying the mystical way of getting knowledge. So that's what probably you can call God, but it's not the usual meaning of the power which follows us, which how to say, следит,
Watches you.
watches. Yeah. Sorry, such an easy word, but I forgot it. Oh, this song, it's probably I read too much Nietzsche or something like that.
Okay, let's
Or
proceed.
Hermann Hesse, maybe, because it's just loneliness all the time.
Back to the
Okay.
songs.
Next, I would like to perform Alleluia song, which is also kind of anti-religious. Обезьянки проголодались, обезьянки стонут от жажды, по-моему. Обезьянки стонут от жажды, им снятся жидкие сны, нефтяные реки, золотые скважины, вестники новой войны. Вот такие мы, Индия, вот такая Господня срань, и не надо нас тормошить. Аллилуйя, holy motherfucking shit. Проголодались, потекла ледяная слюна, а еды на всех не хватает. Значит, скоро война. Обезьянки от пуза наелись, налокались водицы хмельной, а теперь им хочется зрелищ. Дело пахнет войной. Ла-ла-ла-ла, и вот такие мы, Индия. Вот такая Господня срань, и не надо нас тормошить. Аллилуйя, holy motherfucking shit. Половое оружие к бою, рецепты, как пересны,
льется любовью сладкое море войны. Ла-ла-ла-ла. Вот такие мы, Индия. Вот такая Господня срань. И не надо нас тормошить. Аллилуйя! Holy motherfucking shit!
Миш, быть бы.
Another song is called I Would Like to Be, something like that. Yeah. Быть бы. So it's about life after death, without God.
Легче, беспечнее ветра быть бы с телом из лунного света, нитью Млечного Пути. Над землей взойти. Глазами из ночи бездонной быть бы, чтобы свою невесомость видеть, знать, что там во мне. Нет ничего, ничего.
Mish, rock music has always been rebellious, although not always in the direct political way, including your own songs, of course. But however, by the very rare exception, today's Russian rockers are apolitical at best, while, as you already mentioned, some of them are actually loyal to the government. So, what is it? What do you think? Is it their fear to be denied access to media, concert venues, etc., or they genuinely believe that things are moving the right way? What do you think?
Well, some of them, of course, believe that this is the returned power of self-respect for the whole nation, especially those who went into Orthodox religion, because it is there also. That's in every religion actually. But anyway, and some are really afraid of being refused by the media, as you said. So it's a strange mixture, very sad one, and sometimes they started from quite sincere, and in the end, when they come into real life, there were several problems with some bands, with some concerts, and if you have this rock and roll factory which is moving, it's a steam machine, so you cannot stop. You have the stadiums are waiting. You are the slave of the fame. Mm-hmm. So they have to cool down a bit to not to irritate the Kremlin. That's a real problem with them. Was it all? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, Ukraine. Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah, when it was especially it was very obvious. It started to be the gap between. It's like a civil war going on in Russia, inside Russia. So in 2014, when Russia took Crimea and Donbas territories, a lot of my friends they started like supporting this act of aggression, which was really absolutely crazy for me. But anyway, it's a trend in Russia. So, and I was always. Some of them are not really well informed, of course, and the propaganda is very sophisticated nowadays. So it's much more than Hebels. They're doing it in a quite complex way. But anyway, they made it, and I wrote a song. This was a kind of apologize to the Ukraine. I had a lot of friends there. It's still going there to some concerts, and it's called "Forgive Us, Ukraine."
Этому нет оправданий увидеть в брате врага. Это годы страданий и позор на века. Мы с тобой виноваты, недостойные свободы сыны. В головах наших вата и сердца в плену войны. Ты прости нас, Украина. Это рушится русский Рим. Мы не ведаем, что говорим. Ты прости нас за Крым и за Донбасс. Все протесты и митинги зря. Мы скормили в Кремле упыря. Ты прости нас, Украина. Бредим ядерной пылью, все воруем и врем. Как рабами мы были, так рабами помрем. Когда упырь издохнет, что останется здесь? У вас небесная сотня, у нас рабская месть. Ты прости прости нас за Крым и за Донбасс. Все протесты, митинги зря, мы вскормили в Кремле упыря. Ты прости нас, Украина.
Misha, I know you recently obtained a temporary refuge in Sweden and in a sense can be perceived as a political exile. So my question is, has the situation in Russia really reached the extent when a person holding such beliefs as yours can no longer live and create in that country? And in relation to this, let's play Nostradamus. What do you think is the future of Russian protest movement? And it doesn't even have a future. And what's the future of Russian rock in relation to that? And, well, finally, the country at large.
Well, to start, I better start with the smaller Russian rock.
Yeah. From smaller.
Yeah, Russian rock will somehow will you know it's the wave structure of the nature. So anyway, it will turn into something, into some new music, and of course, maybe it won't. It will lose its name. So it won't. Yeah. It's the movement, so it will. You cannot stop it. It's just a new music, a new wave of music, and probably the same with Russia. So I mean, the opposition will be there anyway. Now young guys, this Navalny guys, they're in the streets, and of course the country will change, but probably it will have another name, another size, and probably it will be not Russia anymore, but nothing really dies to the end. I mean, talking about countries.
And what about the current situation? So the situation is now that now has reached the extent when it's impossible to continue living there and creating and being like 100% honest with yourself at the same point.
It's possible, but I was so disappointed that so many friends of mine, as I think, lost their minds. It's like really, it's a craziness. And that's why I need to have a rest of the motherland. I would like to.
You need a break.
To see, yeah, at least, yeah. And I will think what should I do, and it's very interesting to look from on Russia from the outside. It's different. I know you know.
Yeah. Okay, let's continue with the songs.
Okay. Next song I would like to perform is called Red Snow, and it was written like a warning to our Kremlin authorities that they cannot act it. This will lead to a massacre, to murder and to civil war. So it's just in the end you will have red snow on the royal palace in St. Petersburg. So it's about red snow. Ты-то знаешь, никакого бога нет, врали майя, не закончился свет. Ты-то знаешь, еще Еще лет 100 не помешает тебе никто. Ты-то в курсе, все пророчества лгут, книги лгут все. Das ist gut, пляшут наши и пугают телешоу. Людям страшно, это есть хорошо. И все же ты мразь, так кажется нам. И может быть в этом наша вина. Ты просто мразь, типа над миром я, но хорошо информированная. Просыпайтесь, сколько можно потреблять гигабайты телевранья, сколько можно доверять кремлевским снам, пошлой ложью прикрывать свой страх и срам. А прошлого эхо печальное по-хорошему не получается. Если ОМОНы вместо закона, значит будет по-плохому. Будет по-плохому. Тогда рваные погоны на бегущих ментах, бешеная давка на вокзалах столиц, смятение Каддафи на обломках лиц. Будет по-плохому. Тогда ураганы погромов в слепых городах, пьяные дозоры, рублевки в огне, трупы на Дворцовой и красный снег. Красный снег. Красный снег. На Дворцовой красный снег. Красный снег. На Дворцовой красный снег. Красный снег. На Дворцовой красный снег. Красный снег. Thank you. There is another song. Jungle
Jungle will take over.
will take over, yeah. Джунгли возьмут свое in Russian. So it's, yeah. About the things I said before, that it will turn into something else anyway. And the main thing is it will take time, of course. Включи свой экскаватор, поли деревья, строй жилье, радуй жену своей зарплатой, но джунгли возьмут свое. Отели опустели, бассейны разят гнильем. Они хотели славы и денег, но джунгли взяли свое. Джунгли возьмут свое. Да-да-да-да-да, джунгли возьмут свое. И мы еще споем. Устрой войну с соседом, телевизор забей враньем. Объяви врагом планету, но планета возьмет свое. Рано или поздно в разговор вступят звезды. И это уже всерьез. Звезды возьмут свое. Звезды возьмут свое. Да-да-да-да-да, звезды возьмут свое. И мы еще споем. А вас почти не жалко, товарищи
Okay, my last question. When the time of your temporary stay in the West is up, what's going to happen? Will you return to Russia, or will you try and stay in the West? And will you continue with what you're doing? Will you continue as playing songs with Televizor, playing shows in Russia? What are your personal and creative plans, and what should we expect from the band Televizor in the next several years?
I'm very uncertain about my own future and the future of the band right now, and tell God about your plans. So I have to have time to think, and it's good. This kind of mystery came into my life again, and I'm very glad about it. I like it. So nothing is clear.
Okay, so
we'll see.
Time will show.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And of course, the event is not over. Misha will play some more songs, and now it's your turn to ask questions, and your opportunity. But let him play this one first.
Yeah, the song is called "To Be Nobody." That's probably what I was talking about before. So all that I want right now is to be nobody, to be nowhere. Yeah. Okay. Интересно там, любопытно здесь. Я почти не устал от новостей. Информацию живую и теле я пью в одном коктейле. И бурлит Бангкок, и дрожит Мумбай, и проснулся Каир, Мубарак, гудбай. Я забыл тоску, сегодня я видел акул. Я плавал с ними, а в России зима, все по домам, унылая тьма. Это лучшее место, чтобы сойти с ума. Здесь я не нужен там, и родной Петербург не лучше Котау. Просто быть никем и ничем не гордиться в воде, наплевать на границы. А в России зима, все по домам, с веселится тьма. Где веселится тьма. Нужен здесь, не нужен там, просто быть везде.
И ничем не гордиться, ничем не гордиться, просто быть никем, просто быть везде.
Thank you.
Say when.
Now we can.
Okay, so first of all, of course, thank you for the genius music. Thank you, and I probably am talking for everybody.
Thank you. Thank you.
So my question is, what is your observation of fake rebellion? Because that has been my observation here, and you've seen a lot over there and also in the West. So they don't hear my observation. They don't tell you what to do, but if you don't say the right thing, they don't pay you, that kind of thing. So have you experienced that?
Fake rebellion, you said.
A fake rebellion is like co-branded, like an art brand of a rebellion, but it's not real rebellion. Does that make sense?
Mhm. Ah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, sort of. Yeah, like
Yeah, I think it makes the possibility of real rebellion quite lower. So I mean, the more fake rebellions we have, the less, then the longer we should wait for something real, because it's just simulacres. I don't know how it's. I don't know how it's in English. Simulacre. So it's
Simulation.
simulation. Yeah. It takes the energy from the sincere ones.
Yeah, from the real thing.
Yeah.
More questions? Before we proceed with the questions, I know it's a free event, but maybe you could show some gratitude to Misha and contribute some money. So could you pass it down?
It was done before. So
Hi. I have Misha, I have a question. I'm over here. My question is a little bit maybe simpler than previously asked it. Like I know you mentioned numerous times about your colleagues, and I heard them mention you. So obviously you're not alienating yourself, and you never were alienating yourself from your colleagues in a like Russian rock or in a musical community. Did you have any like conversations with them about like your views and your visions? Because I'll explain the reason why I'm asking this. I heard numerous times from others that there was nothing anti-Soviet in Russian rock of the 80s. And then they mentioned you as in Televizor as the only anti-Soviet band. But I mean, maybe it's just a perspective, but
what's the question?
Like the question is, do they like talk to you about it? Do they tell you like, why are you doing this, or how is like your inner circle communications like go with them? Then and now, like in the 80s, during the Soviet times, and now during the Putin times.
We were really friends, because it was, we had to be friends, because there were two so we were not many at those times in the 80s, and we have to be together to break through. And we were supporting each other. It was like also unique kind of friendship between the bands. So we even formed the so-called Red Hammer or something like that. So like 4 groups are traveling all over the country and performing in each city one after another. It was DDT, Alisa, and Object of Nasmeshik. Yeah, and Televizor too. And so we were friends, and I thought we could always be, but I was wrong. Wrong. So anyway, and now I've tried a lot of times to convince some of them that we returned to the Soviet times again, but some are into religion with just drowning into it, and some just feeling so comfortable right now, so they don't want to change anything, like what it was sang by Kino, and suddenly we are afraid to change anything, and that's probably because of the, I don't know. So, although several people are quite okay, like Yuri Shevchuk, for example, we can understand each other. There are no big. When we took, I organized a festival for the freedom of the Pussy Riot, and Shevchuk took part in it, and 20 bands more. So we still have some good friends there, but of course it's getting less and less because it's at a conformistic style of thinking is a trend in Russia right now, and it has a lot of energy which works like brain disease for a lot of people, especially if you're into some. They're using everything. I mean, religion and some sexual. In their propaganda, they use a lot, and it worked on a lot of musicians too.
Misha, on the same topic, obviously, other than the old guard, like yourself, like Shevchuk, like some other old golden generation of Russian rockers, from the multi-million population of Russia, are there any new musical acts that combine your lust for freedom and your rebelliousness with musical talent?
Yes, thank you.
So
about the talent as well.
And are there any new? Где та молодая шпана? Are there any new musical acts?
Yeah, oh, there are a lot of rap bands who they are just split in probably 1/20th part of them are trying to sing about really important things. There is a official funny rap. There's gangster rap. Pseudo gangster rap. It's very funny. They're pretending that they're acting in Bronx.
Are there any acts that you find interesting?
Noise MC is not bad. There is Krovostok. Sometimes is not bad. It's also kind of a bit of rap, a bit of rock in there, and some electronic bands like. But they're probably more artificial, I should say. The lyrics are about nothing. But yeah, but there is some life. I'm hearing new bands, but of course there is no possibility for them to break through to media right now. All the guys who did it 10 years ago. It was possible then. And now it's really chief editor of every television and radio and a newspaper, is completely dependent on the Kremlin, and that's why. Yeah, it's exactly the same. So I mean, and they used new ideology. They were preparing it for the last 15 years, as I understand now. So it's mixture. So trying to make two enemies, those Orthodox monarchists with the Soviet fans. And they managed to do it somehow. They invented a new ideology which says it was good when the Tsar was there and the religion was good, and Stalin is okay too. It's our history, man. We're a big country. We'll fight the world, and so it works. And there is no more real antagonism between these two groups right now. They're all for Putin.
Can I ask another question? Any Western acts that you like? Any American musicians or European musicians that you like? Just.
Yeah. No. Well, I'm a kind of old school guy, you know. So I like Nine Inch Nails, and I like. I'm not really following the news, and of course there are lots of bands. A lot of them. Mostly they are from the 80s, of course. Although the Cure. Yeah, I was on their concert in Moscow 5 years ago, and I liked it very much. And I've visited nearly all of them. They all came to St. Petersburg and to Moscow.
More questions?
Что? Можно это закончить, да, и все. Да, Gazprom Biter. Не, могу.
Okay, one last song as a bonus, and we'll call it a night.
The song is called Gazprom Biter. Yeah. That's how we feel in Russia. We have to be in that band to work for the Gazprom.
Добрый вечер, мы из Петербурга, обычные русские чурки. Лет 300 назад на работу нас нанял великий Петр. Мелькали стрелки датами, менялись работодатели. Золотые пришли нулевые, новый хозяин, единая Россия. Эй-да-да, эй-да. Гой-да-да, гой-да. Я Газпром Байтер, Кремля гастарбайтер. Кто-то говорит бандиты, а я люблю кредиты. Я Газпром Байтер, Кремля гастарбайтер. Буду новым русским сытым, буду жить в Газпром-Сити. Держать — это их работа. Меня держат за идиота. А если тебе не нравится, тебя будут держать за яйца. Потому что это державники, им нужны солдаты и враги. А если молчать и работать, хозяин подарит свободу.
Какую? Кому-то?
Я Газпром Байтер, Кремля гастарбайтер. Кто-то говорит, это воры, а я верю в новый город. Life's so pretty in Gazprom City, yeah. Life is pretty in Gazprom City, yeah. Я Газпром Байтер, Кремля гастарбайтер. Буду верен зениту, буду жить в Газпром Сити. Я Газпром Байтер, Кремля гастарбайтер. Ипотеки, кредиты, я верю зениту. Я Газпром Байтер, Кремля гастарбайтер. Встаем с колен, встаем раком. Я Газпром Байтер, Кремля гастарбайтер.
One more time, give it up to
Thank
Mikhail
you.
Borzikin.
Thank you. Thank you.
Guys, before you all go, first of all, I really appreciate you all showing up here. This is our second Kvartirnik. There will be more, so I'll keep you posted. And let me make one short announcement. Exactly a week from now, on Friday, April 13th, there will be the full band Televizor show at Drom, the club on Avenue A and East 5th Street. Very different from today's performance. Mikhail will not be playing keyboards. He will be, as they call it, a free frontman. So it's going to be your opportunity to witness him in action as a free-moving frontman, supported by the full band, fully produced Televizor show at Drom. And I can only humbly add that my band Interzona will be support act for that. Thank you all very much one more time.